Good is good. It's your boy Ty back here with another video, and in this video today, guys, we're gonna be doing a tier list of the top shooting guards in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM. Now, tier maker does limit me to like 50 some cards. I think we got 53 cards on this tier list. So some guys that were close to making the list that I had to cut out, like Richard Hamilton, Amethyst. I feel like nobody really uses him anyway, so I didn't really care if he was cut out or not. But those types of guys, if you know you're using any of those guys, hey man, credit to you, but they are not going to be a part of this tier list, and hopefully you guys do understand why. But we got a lot of shooting guards to get through. Let's start it off with the Amethyst Dale Ellis. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat things for Amethyst Dale Ellis. Is he a bona fide scrub or what? Like, who is using Amethyst Dale Ellis? And I know there's probably some Dale Ellis stands out there. They're like, well, wait, Ty, you know, Dale Ellis has a good three ball. Dale Ellis can do this. Dale Ellis can do that. Awesome. I'm happy for you guys. Honestly, I am. Like, genuinely, I hope everything's going well for you. But if you're around in Dale Ellis, man, you should probably look to improve your shooting guard position sooner rather than later, just for the sole fact that Dale Ellis is really not that man anymore in my team. And neither is Mitch Richmond. Like, I used Mitch Richmond for a time. That time is not now. You can use him and have some success with him, I'm sure. But again, he's undersized. His movement is okay, not necessarily great. Again, you can use him and have some success with him. I'm just not that big of a fan of him. Josh Green, our first B tier card. Josh Green's release is not one I love, and I think that's why he is in B tier, not any higher. But outside of that, Josh Green plays immaculate defense, and that's my favorite part about the card. The defense that Josh Green is going to play for you guys is impressive, and everybody needs to know and realize that Josh Green plays a lot of defense in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM. KCP, our first A tier shooting guard. Now we have, so far you guys can kind of see the balance in as we go up tiers. I feel like anybody ahead of B tier or B tier or higher are cards you can use and have success with. Like, you know, Josh Green, for example. I think you guys can use Josh Green and have a lot of success with him. Am I going to run him? No. But that's not me saying you guys can't use the card and find yourself really enjoying the card in general. Guy like KCP, you can play him basically at the highest level. I mean, KCP can green shots. He plays great defense. It's crazy that he's that good as a Ruby, but he truly is. Next up, guys, Caris LeVert. I think Caris LeVert is... I'm going to put him in B tier. I don't love the card. I feel like defensively he is not great, and that's kind of where I hesitate even putting him ahead of Mitch Richmond. I do still think he's a more complete option, is why I'm putting him in B tier. Definitely not a card I like or love, though. He's good. I just don't love him. Josh Hart, I'm going to go C tier. I know Josh Hart plays defense. I get that. But my whole thing is he's 6'4". How much defense can you honestly play at 6'4"? Not a ton. I mean, that's truly my opinion on it. If you are 6'4", I feel like it's really tough to get those stops on a consistent basis that you are maybe hoping for. Josh Kogi, that's the guy I was looking for. He's basically the same card as Josh Hart. Now, I know, you know, some people are going to be like, oh, well, I like him more, I like him more. Okay, cool. You could have your preference. I'm just saying they are literally the same card. They're both going to play good defense, both maybe going to struggle offensively, but both going to give you very similar things on the court. And I'm not saying they can't play, but if you're putting either of those cards ahead of C tier, I just don't know. I know they're going to play defense, and for that, I'm going to move Caris LeVert down because I feel like you can make the case, and again, this is my opinion, but I feel like you can make the case, this is me, that a guy like Josh Kogi is better than Caris LeVert. Am I wrong by saying that? Like, I genuinely feel that too. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to figure it out. But I feel like they just play way more defense. Malik Monk, I'm going to put him in C tier. And I know he's a diamond, and there's going to be people out there like Ty. Malik Monk can cook. I get that Malik Monk can cook, but he can also be cooked. You guys got to realize the card is 6'3". What is he doing on my court at 6'3"? Answer, nothing. Okay, he's doing absolutely nothing. If you are 6'3" on my court, you need to get off. He's C tier. Benedict Mathurin, I feel like I gotta go A tier, but I do not love Benedict Mathurin. Even when I did my gameplay of Benedict Mathurin, I gotta be honest with you guys, I struggled quite a bit. So if you want me to hype up Benedict Mathurin, I'm sorry. I can't in good conscience do it and say I'm like great with the card or I love the card, when in reality, I definitely struggled mightily with the card in general. Alex Caruso up next. I'm going to put him in B tier. maybe even A tier. I mean, if you've ever used Alex Caruso in Play Now, you know how good the card truly can be. I'm going to move him to A tier for now. I know, you guys aren't going to think of him as being, this fantastic option, but as far as the 3-and-D option in my team, he's solid. Releases on quick, which I personally like and respect. Defensively, gets me stops. I mean, I just think there's more good than bad when it comes down to using Alex Caruso, and just a guy I feel like you can use and just have a ton of success with. Now, I know I'm saying that a lot, but that's just the truth behind kind of my opinion on things right now. Andre Iguodala up next. Now, for Iggy, are we looking at our first S tier card? I think so. Now, we might have to adjust some players, might have to move some players down. It's hard when we started with a bunch of these Evo types of cards. But my whole thing here is Iggy, as far as the 3-and-D option, is tough to beat. There are some better 3-and-D options, and I'm not trying to sit here and say the card is perfect. But is there a ton of them out there? No. I really like Iggy. I've used the card quite a bit, and I've just had a lot of success with him. So that's just kind of my personal opinion on Andre Iguodala thus far. When I've used him, I've had a lot of success with him and just genuinely enjoyed using the card. Release is a little slow for Andre Iguodala, so if there is kind of one thing that you guys might not like, I think it's probably that. But overall, I do still think the card can just do things at a really, really, really high level. Next up, guys, Austin Carr. Now, Austin Carr, I don't know how high I am on Austin Carr. I mean, the card's fine. Is he great, though? Is he a card I recommend using? Not really. I'm going to go D tier with the card. And I know people might not like this, but I feel like if I go any higher, I'm just doing him. I'm just doing this tier list, I would say, a disservice if I go any higher with the card. Now, you could use, again, this card and just and like him and have a ton of success with him. I just don't see it with Austin Carr. Austin Reeves, mini Devin Booker. Now, I think it's tough because I think he's A tier because he literally is a mini Devin Booker. And if you want a card that is going to be able to absolutely move and groove on the offensive end of the court, Austin Reeves can do that. The problem I think with Austin Reeves, and again, this is just me, is his defense. 6'5" at the 2, not great defensive stats, not great defensive badges. It's similar to Austin Reeves in Play Now with the Lakers. Like, everybody wants to use Austin Reeves. It just comes down to defensively, the card is not great and just leaves a little bit to be desired on the end of the court. Not that you can't use him, not that you can't have success with him. I just think that's where he leaves a little bit to be desired for you guys on the court. Next up, guys, Brandon Roy. We got both of them. Diamond Brandon Roy, I'm going to throw it A tier. Really like the card. Ruby B. Roy, I'm going to throw it C tier. I really don't like Ruby B. Roy, so, I mean, what I wouldn't do is look at this tier list and be like, wow, Brandon Roy is very similar. No, Diamond Brandon Roy is so much better than Ruby Brandon Roy. You can use both of them and have success with them. I'm just saying they're way different cards. Cam Reddish, B tier. Talk about a 3-and-D option that I do like. It is Cam Reddish. Again, we might have to move some players around as we do get better and better cards on this tier list. I just want you guys to know and be aware that Cam Reddish can play at the highest level, and I really wouldn't hesitate by running him there. That's how much I really do like and respect my man in general. And I mean, I even matched up with a guy in co-op. He was running Cam Reddish, and we won the game. And Cam Reddish was 4-4 from the field. So I'm just saying he can hoop. Who can't hoop? Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas stinks, okay? There's nothing positive I can say about Cam Thomas. He's small, undersized. Offensively, he's fine, but not great. There's literally no positives I can say about Cam Thomas. And I'm not even just trying to hate. I'm trying to just be realistic that there is just not many positives I can truly say about that card, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. Chris Morris up next. Chris Morris, not horrible, not great. I think B tier is the right spot for him. He is 6'8", has a decent release. I mean, so it's not all bad for Chris Morris, but is it all good? Is he a card I, love and just am hyping up to the moon? No. I mean, a lot of these season rewards are not cards I'm ever going to hype up, and Chris Morris is one of those cards. I don't think I'll ever be able to just hype him up any more than I am in this video alone. I feel like, in general, I'm hyping him up kind of a lot right now, and it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Clyde, D tier. Pretty self-explanatory. Corey Maggette, C tier. I guess maybe B tier. See, this is the problem with my tier list. I do like Corey Maggette more than guys at C tier. And it's crazy because nobody really thinks of Corey Maggette as being a B tier small forward in my team. And I'm seeing my next tier, like when we get into Gordon Hayward's, James Harden, Jimmy Butler, Jaylen Brown, feel like I'm going to have to really start, moving some people around. And that's okay, but I'm prepared for it already. If I have to move some players around, I'm ready for it. Dan Marley up next. I mean, B tier. The thing is, he's a good 3-and-D option. I just don't know if I love his release. I'm going to put him in B tier. He's fine because he is going to play a lot of defense for you guys. Next up, guys, DeMar DeRozan. This card stinks. I mean, I'm on the verge of putting him at F tier because he doesn't play defense. What is he really doing for us on the court? That's my question. What is he doing on the court for us? I don't know. I'm putting him at F tier. I do not like DeRozan. Devin Booker's Amethyst still is B tier. Now, you know what? He's still A tier. If I'm going to put guys like Benedict Mather at A tier, I'm putting Amy D-Book at A tier as well. Again, I might have to move some players around, but that's okay. Amy D-Book offensively is still one of the best overall cards in the entire game. Yes, defensively he's absolutely horrible, but on the offensive end of the court specifically, the card is incredible. And if I can't just sit here and hate on a card that I think offensively is one of the best overall cards in the game. Diamond Devin Booker, even at the shooting guard position, is S tier. Definitely recommend running him at the point guard position. I do. And I can't, recommend that strongly enough. But if you do run him at the shooting guard, you can still have a ton of success with him. So just know that in the back of your minds, Devin Booker can get it done at either position at a very high level. Doug Christie, A tier. If you've never used Doug Christie and you have him, just use him. Gonna play a lot of defense. Release is just fine. You're actually, if you do use Devin Booker, probably going to find yourself liking the card. As crazy as it might seem, like, what? I'm going to like Devin Booker? Are you sure? I mean, or not Devin Booker. I'm going to like Doug Christie. Are you sure? He just seems weird. He plays defense and his release isn't bad. And as long as you do those two things on the court, I feel like you got a spot on my squad. Eddie Johnson up next, wherever Chris Morris is. I'll go B tier. Not cards I love again. I'm not trying to sit here and just hype up or gas these mediocre cards, which they are mediocre, but they are cards you can use and have success with. And that's my whole thing here with Eddie Johnson, Chris Morris. If you're grinding them out and like them, just use them. Eddie Jones, I can't hype him up. And it starts with the release. Last year, Eddie Jones, in my opinion, had one of the best overall releases in the game. This year, he just doesn't. And that's okay. You know what? That's okay. He just does not have one of those best releases in the game. And that's just me being honest with you. Not to say you can't use him, but just be prepared that release is bad. Elgin Baylor, I mean, with that release, I got to throw you a D tier. You're still, and this is going to sound crazy, but he is still, in my opinion, better than a guy like DeMar DeRozan, just for the sole fact of, at least with Elgin Baylor, he's going to try to play some defense. With a guy like DeMar DeRozan, he does nothing on the court for you. Gerald Wallace up next, great 3-and-D option. I think A tier is where he belongs. And I don't love Gerald Wallace. I haven't not ever used the card, but he is a really solid 3-and-D option in my team. Gordon Hayward up next. I think A tier is where he belongs. 6'7", good frame, good player, model player build. Can compete at a very high level. I just think he's very mediocre. Mid-release, I mean, mid-defense. He's just very, very mid. James Harden up next, A tier. I mean, I like James Harden offensively, but his defense is definitely going to leave you guys stunned if you're expecting a lot from him. Just kind of be prepared. James Harden offensively still one of the best overall cards in the entire game. Jaylen Brown, A tier. Got to be honest with you. I stink with the Pro 2 fade. At the time I'm recording this video, the reason a lot of people run Jaylen Brown is because they like that Pro 2 fade. I'm still to this day struggling with it, so A tier is where he belongs. Some people might like him more than A tier, but for me, that's where he's at. Jimmy Buckets up next, S tier for Jimmy Butler. I mean, movement-wise, Jimmy's fine. Release-wise, he's actually pretty good, pretty solid. And so, I mean, do the pros outweigh the cons with Jimmy? I'm not exactly sure on that, but I will say this. When I use Jimmy Butler, this is me, when I not use him, but when I played against him, I felt like other guys are better than him. Like a guy like Ron Artest, who I'll get to, I think is a better player. Like a guy like Kawhi, I think is at least on that same type of level. Now again, that's obviously subject to change. We can go through things and see again as we do dive into this further. But that's my opinion on Jimmy Butler. Not that he's bad. I just think there are better overall cards. Joe Johnson up next. I mean, look. I guess I'll go A tier, and this is the hard part, is I feel like we're gonna have to clean out A tier eventually. And yeah, with as many good players as we've got, we're gonna clean house today. Austin Carr, you're going to F tier. Elgin Baylor, F tier. Cam Thomas, F tier. They are bona fide scrubs. Who's going down to D tier? Well, Malik Monk, you're going down. Brandon Roy kind of stinks. Mitch Richmond going down. Who's going down from B tier? Well, I really like Cam Reddish. I think he's probably the best card here. Corey Maggetti's going to stay. I'm going to move these guys down to C tier. Who's moving down to B tier? Let's see. Caruso, I like you, but you got to move down. Amy D-Book, I mean, I feel like you've got to move down with the lack of defense. I feel like it just has to happen. Let's see. I'm going to move Benedict Mathurin down. I don't like him even as much as KCP. I like this a little bit more. Dr. J, I mean, I C tier. The lack of a 3-ball hurts, man. And I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be understanding. But he literally doesn't have a 3-ball. So how am I supposed to hype the card up? He doesn't have a 3-ball. And I'm supposed to sit here and make the case he's worth grinding for it or getting. No, like, I can't say grinding for, but getting. No, he's not worth it. I'm sorry. It is what it's got to be. But he is not worth it. Next up, guys, Diamond Kawhi. If you want a great defensive option, Diamond Kawhi is exactly that. Now, I'm not saying he is as good as, let's say, even Jimmy Butler. When you compare him to Jimmy Butler, guess what, guys? It is personal preference. Whose release do you like more? Whose defense do you like more? I think it's going to be hard to like Jimmy's defense more, but Jimmy offensively is going to give you a little bit more. So, again, it's all personal preference. If you like Jimmy Butler more than Kawhi, adjust that with your lineup. I can't sit here and say, you know, one is for sure better than the other. All I can really say is, you know, I've had more success with one more than the other. That's really all I can sit up here and give you guys. Next up, guys, Kevin Martin, F tier. I don't even know why I put him on this tier list. Klay Thompson, D tier. Another guy in Klay Thompson, if you want to run him, do what you guys have to do. The thing with me and Klay, and this is just me and my personal opinion, is I feel like his release this year in this 2K is not as good as it's been in the past. Now, 2K did put out like an adjustment to Klay's release, but I still do not think it is great. Now, that's just me. That's just my opinion. But when I'm using a guy like Klay, I just need him to be able to have one of the best releases in the game. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just don't think he gives me exactly that. Kobe Bean Bryant up next, S tier, the best shooting guard in the game. Now, there's a very select few people that actually have this Kobe Bryant. Like, there's really not very many of them, but some people do have Kobe, and obviously if you have Kobe, you can have a lot of success with him. For me, though, I mean, I don't want you guys to feel like you have to get Kobe. Is he the best shooting guard in the game? Yes. Is Kawhi and a guy like Ron Artest close? Absolutely. Luka, F tier. Malik Beasley, I mean, D tier. Malik's not very good. Matt Harping, never used him. I'll put him in D tier. I don't really know. MJ, A tier. I know people might not like MJ, but he's still stat badge-wise one of the best shooting guards in the entire game. Mikal Bridges, A tier. I don't love his release. Still plays a lot of defense, though. Swaggy P, A tier, on the verge of being S tier. I really like Swaggy P that much. If you know with him. Paul George, S tier. I don't know why people slander Paul George. Like, somebody in my last video, when I was ranking my top 100, and I had Paul George over, I had him over Jimmy Butler, which I still think is true to this day. He's 6'8" with a great release. It does not get much, and he plays a lot of defense. It doesn't get much better than Paul George. Ray Allen, A tier. Some people love Ray Allen. I've not been able to figure it out with him. Ricky Davis, D tier. I don't really know. Ron Artest, S tier. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. One of the best overall shooting guards in the entire game. Terrence Mann, you guys might be surprised where I go with Terrence Mann. He's A tier. I mean, I told you guys, you might be surprised. But here's the deal with Terrence Mann. Release-wise, it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better, and he plays enough defense for me to put him in A tier. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. It's where he belongs. Terrence Ross stinks, D tier. T-Mac, at this stage, I think I gotta go B tier, although I do like the card. And then Vince Carter, C tier. I think this is where I have my tier list. I guess I gotta move T-Mac up to A tier. Not that I want to, but I have to. And that is going to do it for my shooting guard tier list. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments, guys, because obviously this is my opinion and I'm super eager to hear yours. S tier, we got 7 of the most elite shooting guards in the entire game. A tier are cards. If you're running, you're in pretty good shape. B tier low, I'm getting a little dicey, getting a little shaky, but still can have a lot of success with them. Drop a like on the video, guys. Subscribe if you're new. As always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.